Hi, welcome to A Gray Barn Rising. I'm here with Bootsy Beagle, and I'm reading the poems this evening of the Argentinian writer Antonio Porchia. I say writer as opposed to poet because he wrote these short aphoristic sayings. He has a marvelous book called Voices. I think they function as a poem. Actually, in their accretion, one after another, they begin to sound like one great poem. These aphorisms, they really are aphorisms though, which is why I said writer. And he's written these short, terse sayings that are deeply profound. They often hinge on paradox. Some people have compared Antonio Porchia to someone who practices Zen. He's also been compared to Taoist sages such as Lao Tzu, because there are these deep truths in what he's written. And many writers have benefited and have been profoundly influenced by Porchia. The great surrealist André Breton, for example, really admired him. Borges was deeply influenced by him, as was Roberto Juarez. So there are many poets who have really benefited from his work. And I wanted to give you a kind of a different reading of his work this evening. If you've watched this program over the past several months, what you've noticed is I mostly plan out the poems that I'm going to read, that I'm going to share with you. In the case with Porchia tonight, what I would really like to do is to have a more spontaneous reading in which I just move back and forth and let my eye fall upon the page and read an aphorism. So what may happen as I move back and forth and around and weave through this book is I may end up repeating an aphorism or two. If that's the case, please know that that's my method. I'm not going to go ahead and censor myself. So this is from Voices, translated by W.S. Merwin. Mud, when it leaves the mud, stops being mud. Nothing is not only nothing, it is also our prison. My body separates me from every being and from every thing. Nothing but my body. Sometimes at night, I light a lamp so as not to see. Following straight lines shortens distances and also life. And if you find everything as soon as you look for it, you find it in vain. You look for it in vain. Almost always it is the fear of being ourselves that brings us to the mirror. If those who owe us nothing gave us nothing, how poor we would be. My father, when he went, made my childhood a gift of half a century. Infancy is what is eternal, and the rest, all the rest, is brevity, extreme brevity. He who has seen everything empty itself is close to knowing what everything is filled with. My truths do not last long in me, not as long as those that are not mine. I love you as you are, but do not tell me how that is. It is easier for me to see everything as one thing than to see one thing as one thing. If those who owe us nothing gave us nothing, how poor we would be. The void terrifies you, and you open your eyes wider. Everything is a little bit of darkness, even the light. Some things become so completely our own that we forget them. You think you are killing me. I think you are committing suicide. When your suffering is a little greater than my suffering, I feel that I am a little cruel. Treat me as you should treat me, not as I should be treated. A little candor never leaves me. It is what protects me. He who does not find a fountain through which to pour his tears does not weep. You are always telling a dream. When do you dream it? My name, far more than it names me, reminds me of my name. I keep my hands empty for the sake of what I have had in them. No one can help going beyond, and beyond there is an abyss. Every toy has the right to break. The things of mine that are utterly lost are the ones that, when I lost them, were not found by someone else. The void terrifies you, and you open your eyes wider. Some things, in order to show me their lack of existence, became mine. Your pain is so great that probably it does not hurt you. Yes, I will go. I would rather grieve over your absence than over you. Only a few arrive at nothing, because the way is long. In my silence, only my voice is lacking. My truths do not last long in me, not as long as those that are not mine. If I did not believe that the sun looked at me a little bit, I would not look at it. The less a creature thinks he is, the more he bears. And if he thinks he is nothing, he bears all. He who does not know how to believe should not know. Everyone thinks that his things are not like all the things in the world. And that is why everyone keeps them. Sometimes at night I light a lamp so as not to see. Would there be this eternal seeking if the found existed? We become aware of the void as we fill it. Nothing ends without breaking, because everything is endless. More grievous than tears is the sight of them. I I love for the sake of what I loved. And what I loved, I would not go back to loving. To be someone is to be someone alone. To be someone is solitude. What words say does not last. The words last, because words are always the same. And what they say is never the same. He is small who hides in order to show himself. The important and the unimportant are the same, only at the start. All things pronounce names. In that world, I knew that good was killing me because I thought it was evil. The chains that bind us most closely are the ones we have broken. I can wait for you no longer because you have arrived. If flowers appear out of season, do not let them grow. You can owe nothing if you give back its light to the sun. You know, I think I'm going to close on that aphorism. There's a kind of nice symmetry to it. I hope you enjoyed this reading this evening, this presentation of the aphorisms of Antonio Porchia. As I said, it was a different kind of presentation where I wanted to just drift back and forth throughout the book. I hope you seek his work out. This is a very early edition that I have. I discovered his work in 1981. But the book has been released, reprinted, re-released and reprinted a couple more times since then. It's readily available. I recommend getting it and keeping it by your bedside, keeping it on an end table or a coffee table, somewhere near, and reading it almost as a meditation. Some days I will just read an aphorism of his and try to keep that in my mind to practice a kind of mindfulness on that aphorism throughout the day. So I hope that you return to his work after hearing this. And again, I read from the W.S. Merwin translation of the aphorisms of Antonio Porchia entitled Voices. Thank you so much for joining Bootsy and me for another episode of A Gray Barn Rising.